With the lessons learned, some barriers that you want to be careful about. Some things that may arise that I want you to be ready for. Number one is an inadequate knowledge of the group dynamics of that team. That sometimes you get blindsided by someone that you didn't think had much of a role, but they were a team leader. Another area with the barriers is that you don't understand the sport and the culture of that sport. That can get in the way. And that's why it's so important to understand the unique aspects of that sport and the subculture that goes with it. The third thing here that I found is if you're working with a coaching staff of 12 coaches, there's going to be one or two coaches that aren't totally into it. And you're going to have to get them on board as best you can. But you also have to remember, those same two coaches, the head coach may be having difficulties with as well. So don't think you're alone in terms of this. Another thing that I've made the mistake has been early in my career, I made the mistake of promising too much. I thought I could do more than I could. One thing I know now, I can't promise the team, the coach, the administrators much. I remember when I was with the Angels, when I sat down with the general manager and he said, well, what are you going to do for us? And I said, I'm really not sure. I'm going to have to evaluate the situation. I remember he stood up, reached across the table, and shook my hand because he said, you're the first guy that has come in here and hasn't promised me everything. And you can't do everything. So why promise them that you can do it? Because sometimes you're not sure what you're walking into. I do try to get the athlete in the pressure situation to do what they do in their practice and their training. That's one thing we can work towards. If the athlete cannot do it in his or her practice and training, why do you think they're ever going to do it when the pressure's on? And I talk with coaches about that. We're not talking about them performing at a great level. We're talking about them in the game doing what they do in their practice and performance. And the phrase that I use for that is, don't put on a game face, bring your face. Do what you do. The final barrier, and I run into this all the time, the image of sports psychology, that shrink image, that he's going to get into my head, he's trying to figure me out. That's a tough one. And it's very hard because whatever we call ourselves, whatever it is we do, very often people view us as shrinks. And I tell them, I'm not a shrink, I'm a stretch. My work is to try to make you better at what you do. So those are some of the barriers that you may have to overcome as you work in this field.